And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather for Wednesday morning. Lots of IFR here to the north and back to the west, all the way down into northeast Bristol Bay and a portion of the Alaska Peninsula. Some IFR for Kodiak Island and a small area there in the northern Bering Sea. Otherwise, IFR continues to the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, and on up into the central Alaska Range as well as the southeast coast. For the afternoon, about the same thing going on. IFR for Prince William Sound, areas of the North Gulf Coast, and along the Alaska Range here, still an area of IFR from the eastern Arctic coast across the Brooks Range down into the Koyukuk, Kobuk, and Selawik valleys out toward Kotzebue. Another area there over the southern Kuskokwim Valley out toward Dillingham and Togiak, and also up here northern Bering Sea, that area holding. Marginal VFR for the remainder of the Aleutians and the Bering Sea. And for Thursday morning, next system coming up, a lot of IFR building and pushing northward well into the Copper River Basin during the morning hours, down across the Kenai Peninsula, western Alaska Range, in across much of the Panhandle, and then some lower conditions continuing up here along the Brooks Range back over the western interior, all the way down into Bristol Bay. And this area, still some IFR over the northern Bering Sea, but south of St. Lawrence Island, still marginal elsewhere. And then for the afternoon, a lot of IFR up here to the north again, and just some areas of IFR now for the North Gulf Coast along the western Alaska Range and down over the southwest mountains. IFR for the eastern interior areas there with marginal VFR elsewhere. Some VFR though for the Alaska Peninsula and Unalaska Island as well as St. Lawrence Island, and northern northwest Bering Sea has some IFR out that way. And for the passes tomorrow, again another IFR day for the Brooks Range there, especially for Anatuvik and Anagan passes. Lake Clark and Merrill IFR, lowest on the eastern entrance. Same thing for Rainy IFR. Windy IFR, Isabel IFR expected, and Mentasta though VFR, and for Tanita marginal, back to IFR for Portage, and Chilkoot and White looking IFR. Freezing levels here at the surface still up toward the Alaska Range there, and then back down toward Kuskokwim Bay in just north of the Pribilof Islands. 2,000 feet from Kodiak Island, 2,000 to 4,000 feet over the central and southern southeast coast. So going to icing, next system starting to push some icing up here into the southern Gulf of Alaska. Start to see an increase tomorrow afternoon along the south coast of the Panhandle, Port Alexander on down toward Prince of Wales Island, and an area of possible heavier icing, considerable moderate up here over the north central interior along and just south of the Brooks Range there. Otherwise, just some spotty areas possible down along the Alaska Range into the Copper River Basin and North Gulf Coast. Looking at the jet stream, now we have a jet right across southern Alaska here out of mainly the west or west-southwest, up to 110 to 120 knots here, stronger over into Canada. And looking at 9,000 feet, westerly winds at 50 knots here for the eastern north slope there in the Brooks Range, pretty strong there. Otherwise, broad area of southwest flow up to 35 knots for the southeast coast. Much of the interior up to 40 knots from the south here along the southwest coast. And moving to 3,000 feet. Not too bad, just an area of 25 knot winds in the central interior. Stronger winds from the western Arctic coast. And the absolute strongest they're coming across the Russian area there in Russia, just west of the Bering Strait, and low pressure, weak low pressure out over the Bering Sea. Not much in the way of any wind associated with that. So taking a look at turbulence, expecting considerable moderate turbulence, southern Panhandle along the coast, all on the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound, on up into the Copper River Basin, back down toward Kodiak, southern Cook Inlet, also the central Alaska Range, the Point Hope Cape Lisburne area, and also for the eastern Brooks Range, as well as St. Lawrence Island.